At Trelease International, we have the privilege of meeting many of our Christian family who've gone through the harshest trials of their faith and yet can teach us what it is to overcome. We've much to learn from brothers like Pastor Salavat Sarikbayev in Uzbekistan. For conducting Bible studies and having Christian books in his home, freedoms many of us take for granted, he was sentenced to 8 years. This report from Greg Musselman of the Voice of the Martyrs Canada.
Pastor Salavat Sarikbayev and his family have also faced many hardships in their devotion and service to Jesus Christ. The latest began in April of 2007 when Salavat, who pastors an unregistered Pentecostal church, was arrested in the autonomous region of Karakal, Pakistan for his religious activities. He had his 2-year correctional labor sentence reduced to a year and was assigned to cultivate plants in the desert.
I was at a monthly pastors' meeting at this apartment. After half an hour, 15 or 16 policemen raided the meeting and said, "Why are you here?" Many had no passports, so everyone was arrested and taken to the police station. I was charged with illegally teaching in an illegal meeting. And they said they had 2 witnesses to confirm this. The case went to court.
Salavat says these so-called witnesses were lying. Karakal, Pakistan has a highly repressive religious policy. Only Muslim communities and 1 Russian Orthodox parish are allowed to operate. All other religious activity is banned and is a criminal offense. Salavat, a former Muslim, was previously arrested in February of 2006 for his religious activities. In 1999, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison for conducting Bible studies, performing baptisms, and having dozens of Bibles and Christian books in his home.
I was not afraid, but I did feel some fear when the judge sentenced me to 8 years of prison. I was very scared because I had a family, including 2 children at that time. Still, I was happy to suffer for Christ. This was something I could do for Jesus.
Salavat's wife, Ait Gul, was confined to her home by authorities after Salavat's arrest. Out of fear, Christians refused to help the family, and relatives rejected them because of their faith in Jesus. Her oldest daughter, Rachel, just 2 at the time, almost starved to death.
I was not mad at God. I found in the Bible that man does not live only by bread, but by the word of God. Of course it was a hard time, but it was also a time of blessing.
Following his return home from prison, Salavat sent out invitations to his now disbanded congregation for a church service. But no one came.
So I opened the Bible and started to worship by myself. I had prepared a sermon, and I spoke to the empty walls. No one came. For 2 days I had sermons for nobody, but it was the most powerful and spiritual time in my life.
About a month later, the majority of the congregation returned to gathering together. By then, the church had been stripped of its official registration.
Our church is a cell church. Every cell has 3 to 5 people. There are many groups. Once a week I gather together the leaders of these groups and preach to them. I also go to the hospital with members of our church to visit the many ill people in our city. Some have tuberculosis, and we try to comfort them with food, medicine, and haircuts. Because we have no registration, we must do all charitable work illegally. If they catch us, it would be big trouble for us.
Salavat and Ait Gul now have 5 children. And in spite of the dangers they face, there is no thought of stopping their ministry.
God put me here as a shepherd to care for his flock. As long as my heart beats, I will care for the flock as a shepherd.
Pray for Pastor Salavat Sarikbayev and his wife Ait Gul. And instead of just getting mad about the injustice, let's get down on our knees. Pray for our brothers and sisters in Uzbekistan. Ask God how we should provide for them and to give us the courage and determination to live lives that are worthy of them and are just as effective for the gospel.